I'll never forget the call I got about a retiree named Mark. He came to the Philippines 3 months ago dreaming of beach sunsets and a fresh start. Last week, his family flew in to bring him home. He's in a hospital bed, and his life savings are gone. What happened to him could happen to literally anyone. And it's probably not what you're thinking. Look, I love the Philippines. It's home to me. The beaches, the people, the life you can build here, it's incredible. But there are real dangers most travel vlogs won't tell you about. Not because they're hiding anything, but because most people don't realize the risks until it's too late. In this video, I'm breaking down the 8 dangers every foreigner needs to know. This isn't about scaring you away, it's about preparing you. Because almost every foreigner I've seen get into serious trouble here ignored these exact warnings. Some of these can ruin your vacation, some can ruin your life, and the biggest danger isn't criminals or scammers. It's something else entirely. Let's get into it. Let's start with the thing that puts more foreigners in danger in the Philippines than anything else: motorcycles and scooters. And I'm not just talking about when you're riding one. I'm talking about what everyone else is doing on their motorcycles around you, whether you're walking, driving, or even riding yourself. Here's what you need to understand. Traffic rules in the Philippines are more like traffic suggestions. Red lights at intersections? Some people stop, some people slow down, majority just glance and go. Lane markers? Decorative. Turn signals? Optional. Helmets? Only if there's a cop nearby. Motorcycles and scooters weave through traffic like they're playing a video game. They'll squeeze between cars with inches to spare. They'll drive on the wrong side of the road to get around traffic. They'll pop out of side streets without looking. And in provincial areas, many intersections don't even have traffic lights. Just a hope and God's grace that everyone sees each other in time. Now, if you're thinking, I'll just be careful and follow the rules, let me tell you about what happened to a British expat in Cebu last year. Marcus was 58, recently retired, and he'd been living in Cebu for about 6 months. He'd rented a scooter to get around, and he was a careful rider. Always wore his helmet, obeyed traffic laws, never drove when it's very late, never drove in the rain. He was doing everything right. One afternoon, he's riding through a quiet neighborhood, going maybe 30 kilometers per hour. A rooster runs into the road. Not a dog, not a person, a rooster. Marcus swerves to avoid it, hits a pothole he didn't see, and goes flying off his scooter. He breaks his collarbone, cracks about 2 ribs, and gets a severe concussion. Now here's where it gets worse. The nearest hospital that can actually treat his injuries properly is 45 minutes away. By the time he gets there, he's been lying on the side of the road for 10 to 20 minutes waiting for someone to call an ambulance. Then another 10 to 20 minutes in transport. He ends up spending 2 weeks in the hospital and 3 months recovering. His medical bills, even with insurance, are over $15,000 because he ended up getting a surgery and needed specialized care, and Marcus was lucky. He survived, others don't. The reality is this: the roads here are filled with hazards you're not used to. Stray dogs that run out in front of you, potholes, motorcycles driving toward you on your side of the road, pedestrians crossing wherever they feel like it, kids playing near the street, and in rural areas, sometimes livestock just hanging out in the road. Here's my advice. If you've never ridden a motorcycle or scooter before, the Philippines is not the best place to learn. If you haven't ridden one in years, don't assume you can just hop on and be fine. And if you do rent one, stay in well-lit, low-traffic areas until you've adapted to how chaotic the roads are here. Better yet, use Grab, take taxis, or hire a driver. Your life is worth more than the $10 you'll save riding a scooter. And if you're just walking or in a car, keep your head on a swivel. Always assume that motorcycle you see is about to do something unpredictable, because it probably will. Alright, let's talk about something that destroys more bank accounts and breaks more hearts than anything else on this list: romance scams and online dating traps. Now, before I go any further, let me be crystal clear. The vast majority of Filipinos are genuine, kind, honest people. This is not about stereotyping an entire country. But there are scams targeting foreign men specifically, and you need to know what they look like. Here's how it usually starts. You're back home, scrolling through Facebook or a dating app, and you get a message from a beautiful Filipina. She's sweet, she's interested in you, and she's saying all the right things. You start talking every day. Video calls, messages, good morning texts, the whole thing. After a few weeks or months, you feel like you've found something genuine. So you book a flight to the Philippines to meet her in person. You're excited, you've been talking about this moment for months. Finally, you're going to meet the woman you've been falling for. First of all, let me tell you about what happened to a Canadian named Logan. Logan was 67, divorced, lonely, and he'd been chatting with a woman named Alma for about 4 months. She was 32, beautiful, and she told him she lived in a small town in Mindanao. She'd sent him photos, they'd video chatted a few times, and everything seemed legitimate. Logan flew to Manila, then took another flight down to Mindanao. Alma picked him up at the airport with her cousin. They seemed nice enough. She took him to meet her family, and that's when things got weird. First, her family started asking him for money through Alma. Small amounts at first. The electricity bill is due, can you help? Then it was, my nephew needs medicine. Then, we need money for food. Logan, trying to be generous and impress the family, kept saying yes. Then Alma drops the bomb. She's technically still married. She's been separated for years, she claims, but she needs money for an annulment, so they can be together properly. The cost? About 200,000 pesos, roughly $3,500. Logan, already in deep, emotionally pays it. Something happened weeks later, after she declined Logan several chances of getting down with her, and said they should take things slow. Logan listened, but then he also began to decline her financial requests. After doing it a few times, Alma started getting distant. She's not answering calls as much and replying late. Logan later ended things and decided that she was just after her benefits only. Told me that she can't reap where she did not sow. Well, I'll let you be the judge to that, but as for me, I believe they both have their fair share of blame. One thing I'll say is that don't let your heart do the thinking. And just a reminder, the Philippines is full of amazing women who are genuinely looking for real relationships, but it's also full of people who see foreign men as walking ATMs. Learn to tell the difference before you hand over your heart and your wallet. Alright, this next one is something most people associate with Colombia, specifically places like Medellin where drugging and robbing tourists has become almost an industry. But here's what nobody tells you. It can happen in the Philippines too, or rather it happens here too. Of course, it's not as common as Colombia, but it happens often enough that you need to be aware of it. And when it does happen, it can be absolutely devastating. Let me tell you about an American named David. David was, he was in Manila for a month-long vacation. He'd been hitting the bars in Makati, having a good time, meeting people. One night he meets a woman at a bar. She's friendly, attractive, and they're having good conversation. She suggests they go back to his hotel for drinks. David thinks he's about to have a great night. They get back to his room, they have a few drinks, and then his memory gets fuzzy. He remembers feeling extremely tired. He remembers lying down. And then nothing. He wakes up hours later, head pounding, he's disoriented. And when he checks his wallet, his credit cards are there. His ID is there. Everything looks normal. But here's the thing. It wasn't stolen. It was photographed. The woman he brought back didn't take his cards because she knew he'd report them stolen immediately. Instead, she took pictures of the front and back of every card. She took pictures of his driver's license. She took pictures of everything she needed to commit identity theft and credit card fraud. Over the next 3 days, before David even realized what was happening, she and her accomplices racked up over $12,000 in charges. Online purchases, cash advances, everything. By the time David's bank flagged the suspicious activity and called him, the damage was done. Here's how this scam works. They don't need to steal your physical cards anymore. All they need is the card number, expiration date, and that 3-digit security code on the back. With that information and a photo of your ID, they can make online purchases all day long. And because you still have your cards, you don't realize you've been victimized until the charges start rolling in. Sometimes they'll drug you to knock you out so they have more time. Sometimes they'll just wait until you fall asleep. Either way, the result is the same. So, how do you protect yourself? Well, these are few I suggest. First, bringing someone you barely know to your hotel is risky, if you ask me. So I suggest you just be more careful in that aspect. I would say, you rent another hotel, it's more safer. Second, never leave your drinks unattended. If you get up to use the bathroom, that drink is done. Order a new one when you come back. Those who have been around long enough should already know this. Third, don't keep all your cards in one place. Have a backup card locked in your hotel. Keep your important documents even more secured. And for the love of everything, don't keep photos of your credit cards or passport on your phone. Fourth, you should set up fraud alerts with your bank before you travel. Many people do this, and it helps. Many banks will text you immediately if there's any unusual activity. Enable those notifications. Look, I get it. You're on vacation or you're retired. You want to have fun. You want to meet people. That's fine. But use your head. Colombia is famous for this scam because it happens constantly, but it happens around the world too. And the Philippines is no exception. Don't become a statistic because you let your guard down too much. Now let's talk about something that has happened to almost every foreigner that have visited the Philippines at some point. Taxi scams. Maybe they didn't succeed, but someone must have tried. Now, before I dive in, let me say that most taxi drivers in the Philippines are honest, hard-working people just trying to make a living. But like everywhere in the world, there are bad actors who specifically target foreigners because they know you don't know any better. The most common scam is the broken meter, or the I forgot to turn it on scam. You get in the taxi, maybe you're tired from your flight, maybe you're distracted by your phone, and you don't notice that the driver never turned on the meter. You have a pleasant conversation, you arrive at your destination, and then the driver tells you it's so amount. You're shocked because that seems high, but you don't know what the actual fare should be, so you pay it. The real metered fare, probably 70% less, you just got charged 3, 4, or even 5 times the actual amount. The second most common scam is the no change scam. For example, your fare is 250 pesos. You hand the driver a 1,000 peso note because that's all you have. And suddenly, the driver has no change. None. Not even close. He shrugs apologetically and suggests you just let him keep it. Or maybe he'll offer to drive you to somewhere to get change, but by then the meter is still running and you're wasting time and money. This scam is particularly effective at night or when you've just arrived from the airport because you probably don't have small bills yet. There's a lot of stories on this, but let's just move on to how to actually avoid this. So how do you avoid this? First, and this solves more than 70% of any potential taxi scam, just by using Grab. It's the Southeast Asian version of Uber, and the price is set before you get in the car. No surprises, no negotiations, no scams. It's not perfect, but it's much better than random taxis. Second, if you must take a taxi, just make sure the meter is turned on before the car moves. Point at it and say, "Meter, please," if you have to. If the driver says it's broken or gives you excuses, you should probably find another taxi. There are lots of them, and you'll find one with a working meter. Third, I suggest you carry small bills. When you exchange money or withdraw from an ATM, ask for some 100 peso notes and 50 peso notes. This eliminates the no change scam entirely. And lastly, specifically for Manila Airport, there's an official airport taxi service with yellow taxis. They're more expensive than regular taxis, but they're regulated and metered. If you're arriving exhausted and don't want to deal with potential scams, use them. Or better yet, have your hotel arrange a pickup. Look, losing $30 to a taxi scam isn't the end of the world, but it's the principle of it. You're being taken advantage of because you're a foreigner, and if you let it happen once, you'll let it happen repeatedly because word gets around among drivers about who's an easy mark. Set boundaries from day one. Insist on the meter. Pay attention, and don't be afraid to get out of a taxi if something feels wrong. Alright, let's talk about the danger that ruins more vacations and hospitalizes more foreigners than almost anything else. Health issues. And I'm not talking about getting a cold, I'm talking about spending 3 days glued to a toilet, I'm talking about ending up in a hospital on an IV drip, I'm talking about food poisoning, waterborne illnesses, and heat exhaustion that can absolutely destroy your trip. Let's start with water and ice. You've probably heard the old travel advice, don't drink the tap water. And that's true in the Philippines, but here's what most people don't think about. Ice cubes. You go to a restaurant or a bar, you order a Coke, or a rum and Coke, it comes with ice, you drink it without thinking twice. But what was that ice made from? Hopefully filtered water. Maybe tap water. You don't know, and you won't know until about 6 to 12 hours later when your stomach starts doing backflips. Here's the reality. Your stomach is not used to the bacteria and microorganisms in Philippine water. Locals have been drinking it their whole lives, their systems have adapted. Yours hasn't. What doesn't bother them at all can absolutely wreck you. So here's the rule. For at least your first few weeks in the Philippines, you should drink only bottled water where you open the sealed cap yourself. Not service water, not filtered water that's been sitting in a pitcher. Bottled water. And when you order drinks, you should say no ice unless maybe you're at a high-end hotel or restaurant that you trust uses filtered water for their ice. Now let's talk about food. Street food in the Philippines looks amazing. It even smells incredible. And some of it is absolutely delicious, but your stomach needs time to adjust. That balut, that aiso, that street vendor's lechon, it might be fine for locals, but at the same time it might send you running for the nearest bathroom. Start slow. Eat at established restaurants for your first week or two. Let your system adjust to the local cuisine. Then if you want to try street food, go for it, but be selective. Look for busy vendors with high turnover. That means the food is fresh. You should avoid anything that's been sitting out in the heat for hours. And here's another thing nobody talks about. Physical limits. You're 65 years old. You spent the last 10 years working a desk job. You haven't done serious physical activity in a while. And now you're in the Philippines and you want to hike to a waterfall that requires climbing down over 300 steep, uneven steps in 90-degree heat with 80% humidity. Bad idea. Every year, most people do have heart attacks, heat strokes, and serious falls because they overestimated their physical condition. You're not 25 anymore, mate. The heat and humidity here are brutal if you're not used to them. That hike that others do easily might absolutely turn into something else for you. A German retiree named Klaus found this out the hard way. He was 71, reasonably fit for his age in his opinion, and he decided to hike up to a waterfall near Dumaguete. The hike involved steep inclines, rocky terrain, and oppressive heat. Halfway up, Klaus started feeling dizzy, then chest pains, then he collapsed. Fortunately, people were nearby and helped get him down the mountain and to a hospital. He'd had a mild heart attack brought on by overexertion in extreme heat. He survived, but it scared him badly enough that he cut his trip short and went home. I know it might sound like it's not much of a big deal, but things could have ended up very different. Know your limits. If you haven't been physically active, don't suddenly decide to go mountain climbing in tropical heat. If you're going to do physical activities, start small. Take a walk around the city, get used to the heat and humidity, build up your tolerance, don't go from zero to hero in one day. That's not how things work. Stay hydrated constantly, not just when you feel thirsty, constantly. Carry bottled water with you everywhere. Wear sunscreen. Put on a cap or hat, whatever you call it. All I'm just saying is put something on. The Philippines is beautiful and there's so much to explore, but take care of your health and know your physical limits, and also listen to your body, because spending your vacation in a hospital or violently ill in a hotel room is not my idea of a good time, and I'm sure it's not yours also. Alright, let's talk about something that's awkward but absolutely critical. Sexually transmitted diseases and HIV. Look, I'm not here to judge anyone's choices. You're an adult, you're on vacation or living abroad, and what you do is your business. But you need to understand the reality of the situation here. The Philippines has a growing HIV problem. According to the Department of Health, new HIV cases have been increasing every year, particularly among younger populations. And while treatment is available, prevention is a whole lot easier than dealing with an infection. Now, I'm going to tell you a story, and I'm not going to pick side, I'll just be blunt about it, because dancing around the issue doesn't help anyone. There was an American expat, let's call him Mike, who was 48 and had been living in Manila for about 5 months. He'd been dating a woman he met through a friend. Things got serious pretty quickly. One evening, they decided to take things to the next level. She suggested he use protection. Mike said no, he didn't like it. They ruined the experience, all the usual excuses guys make. She hesitated but went along with it. 3 days later, Mike noticed something was wrong. 4 days later, it hurt to urinate. By day 5, he'd described it as peeing fire, and there was discharge. He went to a clinic, got tested, and surprise, surprise, he had gonorrhea. Now, gonorrhea is treatable with antibiotics, so Mike was lucky in that sense. But here's what he told me later. I rolled the dice because I didn't want to be a little inconvenienced for 20 minutes. And I ended up with over a week of pain, embarrassment, medical bills, and the awkward conversation with someone I was trying to build a relationship with. Stupidest decision I've made in years. Here's the thing, guys. Sexually transmitted diseases don't care about your vacation vibe. They don't care that you're having a great time. They don't care that you're finally feeling free and living your best life. They're equal opportunity infections, and they will absolutely ruin your day, week, month, or in the case of HIV, your life. The HIV situation is particularly serious because, while it's treatable with modern medicine, it's not curable. You're managing it for the rest of your life, and in more remote areas of the Philippines, testing and treatment availability can be limited and expensive. So here's the advice, and it's the same advice you've heard your whole life, but apparently some people need to hear it again. Just use protection. It doesn't really matter if she's beautiful or if you think she's clean, or if she says she's only been with one other person. Just try to cover up that guy down there. The old saying applies here, don't let 5 minutes of fun create 18 years of responsibility, or in the STD case, don't let 5 minutes of fun create a lifetime of regret. Be smart, be protected. Your future self will thank you. Let's talk about something that can turn you from just another tourist into a target in seconds. Showing off your money. Here's what you need to understand. The average Filipino worker makes somewhere between 10,000 to 20,000 pesos per month. That's roughly 180 to 360 US dollars. Per month, not per week. When you, as a foreigner, pull out a wallet stuffed with 1,000 peso notes at a local market, you're basically announcing, I'm carrying more money than most people here make in months. And that makes you a target. Let me tell you about what happened to a Canadian retiree named Thomas. Thomas was 66, newly retired and living in Cebu. He was a friendly guy, liked to chat with everyone, liked to be generous. He'd go to local bars, buy rounds of drinks for people he'd just met, pull out thick wads of cash to pay for everything. He wore an expensive watch and had the latest iPhone. One evening, Thomas went to an ATM in a less touristy part of the city. He withdrew 20,000 pesos, stuffed it in his back pocket and started walking back to his condo. He was on his phone, not paying attention to his surroundings. Two guys on a motorcycle pulled up beside him. One hopped off, grabbed his phone and his wallet, and they were gone before Thomas even processed what happened. In about 5 seconds, he lost 20,000 pesos in cash, his credit cards, his ID, and a phone worth maybe another 50,000 pesos. And as we all know, this could have been prevented before it even started. Here's how to be smart about money in the Philippines. First, divide your cash. Keep small bills in one pocket for daily expenses, larger bills in another pocket or a hidden location. When you buy a coffee or a snack, you pull out a 20 or 50 peso note, not a stack of thousands. Second, don't wear expensive jewelry, watches or flashy accessories. That Rolex you're so proud of, it's a robbery magnet, leave it at home. Get a cheaper one, it'll save you a lot of trouble here. Third, be aware of your surroundings at all times. If someone bumps into you suspiciously, you should immediately check your pockets. Pickpocket teams often work with one person, distracting you while another lifts your wallet. And lastly, again, don't show off, don't brag about how much money you have, don't buy rounds for the whole bar, don't make it obvious that you're wealthy. Blend in, be a regular person, don't make yourself an obvious walking ATM. As some of you already know, the vast majority of Filipinos are honest, hard-working people who would never steal from you. But there are opportunistic criminals in every country, and they specifically target foreigners who make themselves easy marks. Don't be an easy mark. Be smart about your money and belongings, and you'll dramatically reduce your chances of becoming a victim. Some of you have known many of these things, so these are not news to you anymore, but others don't. Alright, we've covered 7 specific dangers. Now let's talk about the biggest danger of all, the one that causes about 90% of the problems foreigners have in the Philippines. You. That's right. You are your own biggest enemy. Not scammers, not criminals, not dangerous roads or bad water. You. Your decisions, your attitude, your lack of self-discipline, your arrogance, your refusal to be aware of your surroundings. Let me be blunt. Most foreigners who get into serious trouble in the Philippines created that trouble themselves. A guy who got robbed while he was drunk and walking alone at 2 a.m. in a sketchy neighborhood, flashing cash. He created the situation. The guy who got scammed by a woman because he ignored every red flag, sent money before meeting her, and believed a story that was obviously too good to be true. He created the situation also. The guy who crashed his motorcycle, he was driving too fast, wasn't wearing a helmet and had been drinking. He created the situation. The guy who ended up in the hospital with food poisoning. He ate street food from a questionable vendor, didn't wash his hands and drank tap water. He created the situation. There's a pattern. Here's the uncomfortable truth. When you leave your home country and go somewhere new, you need to be more careful, not less. You need to be more aware, not less. You need to make better decisions, not worse. But what happens instead? A lot of foreigners come to the Philippines and think that because it's cheap and the people are friendly, the rules don't apply here. They let their guard down completely. They get sloppy. They make decisions they would never make at home. They drink too much. They trust too easily. They take unnecessary risks. They disrespect local customs. They act like they're invincible. And then something bad happens and they blame the Philippines. This country is dangerous. Yes, the country has a part to play, but you're also dangerous to yourself. Here's what you need to understand. The Philippines is a country with its own culture, customs, and social norms. You are a guest here. That doesn't mean you have to walk on eggshells or be overly deferential, but it does mean you need to show basic respect. The country has its, and I'll be the first person to point it out when I see it, but also, we should not forget that we also play a part in it. Be humble. Be respectful. Be aware. Don't do things you wouldn't do at home. If you wouldn't walk alone through a bad neighborhood at 2 a.m. in your home city, don't do it here. If you wouldn't hand money to a stranger on the street at home, don't do it here. If you wouldn't get blackout drunk and trust random people at home, don't do it here. The Philippines amplifies consequences. Bad decisions that might just be embarrassing at home can be dangerous here. So I urge you to make better decisions. Stay aware of your surroundings. Know your limits. With alcohol, just because beer is cheap doesn't mean you should drink 15 of them. Just because you can afford to party every night doesn't mean you should. Know your limit. With physical activity, with risk-taking, in fact, with everything as a whole, trust your gut. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Don't ignore that feeling just because you don't want to seem paranoid. Also, you should ask for advice. Talk to expats who've been here long enough. They've made mistakes, so you don't have to. Have a plan. Know where you're going, how you're getting there, and how you're getting back. Don't just wander aimlessly and hope for the best. And most importantly, take responsibility for your own safety and well-being. Nobody else is going to do it for you. The Philippines is an incredible country. Millions of foreigners live here happily and safely. They have amazing experiences, build wonderful relationships, and create lives they love. But they do it by being smart, being respectful, and being aware. Don't be that person who goes broke. Be the person who has an amazing time because you prepared properly, made good decisions, and treated people with respect. Some of the times, your biggest danger isn't out there in the streets or on the roads or in the bars. It's in the mirror. It's the choices you make, the risks you take, and the way you conduct yourself. Control yourself and you'll control your experience in the Philippines. I hope this video has been helpful one way or the other. If you're planning a trip to the Philippines or thinking about moving here, take these dangers seriously. They're not hypothetical. They happen to people every single day, but they don't have to happen to you. If you found this valuable, hit that like button and share so other people can find this information. Subscribe to the channel if you want more content about living, traveling, and retiring abroad. And drop a comment below if you have questions or if there's something I didn't cover that you want to know about. Literally anything. And to everyone who's already in the Philippines or planning to come, have an amazing time. This country has so much to offer. Just be smart about it, be safe, be respectful, and enjoy everything this incredible place has to give. As some of you already know, this is Journals Beyond Horizons. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.